We've got amazing things to talk about today. LVO is complete. It is the largest tournament that has ever happened in Warhammer 40,000. We're going to go through the top list. We're going to talk about how the people who won, and we're going to talk about some really huge lessons that you can take away from the Las Vegas Open. First off, right off the bat, shout out to everyone who participated, and really shout out to the tournament organizers. LVO was so much better this year than it has been in previous years. For those of you who don't know, LVO has historically been plagued by terrible terrain layouts, bad organization, and they really upped their game this year. So all of the terrain was modernized. It was all done really well. They've stayed on time with everything. So it turns out it just seemed like the Las Vegas Open staff has really stepped up their games. Their judges were on point, so if you were watching any of the live streams, there were several times when judges had to get called in to help with certain resolutions, and they did a fantastic objective job of doing that. So honestly, Las Vegas Open seems like it was a blast. I cannot wait until I get to attend. Had a little baby girl, so I wasn't able to attend this year because she's like 4 weeks now. Would have been a little too soon to take off, but I'll try to make sure I get out there next year. So big shout out to the winners. Right off the bat, let's just go through the placings, and then I'm going to start talking about some of the lists. I'm going to start talking about some of the things that you can take away from the Las Vegas Open, okay? Because there really were some astonishing things that you can take away, and I think you're really going to enjoy hearing it. So first off, Mark Hertel, Team Battle Brothers, he won the Las Vegas Open with Deathwatch. Now, interestingly enough, he won with the Deathwatch, but he didn't abuse the rules that Las Vegas Open gave Deathwatch. So Las Vegas Open had ruled that all Space Marine units are going to be able to benefit from the doctrines for your or the mission tactics, which is very against the rules as written. But Mark actually didn't use that. He literally only used Deathwatch units and Rhinos, so he didn't even abuse the buff that Las Vegas Open gave him. He just played a hell of a game, and honestly, he took some risk, and they really paid off. So we'll go through his list in just a moment. Ben Neal from Denver Mountain Trolls, guy played the Adeptus Astartes, and I believe he was a, I think he was a, man, I forgot. I think he was Ironstorm, wasn't he? No, he was Vanguard Ultramarines. Yep, so he was Vanguard Ultramarines. Did a crazy good job. Lost in the finals to Mark, but it was just a just awesome performance. Jack Carpster ended up third. He lost to Mark in the semifinals. Floof Cox, who has the winner of the craziestly cool name ever, bring the Gene Stealer Colts to fourth place. Then we had Ridvan Martinez. If you guys don't know, that is Scary from Scarcast. Shout out to him, and don't forget, if you want more of Scary, you can follow the epic that is going to be Happy Crumpet Wargaming versus Scarcast in the team's tournament, which is going to be starting in about 1 week. Then rounding it out, we got Josh Roberts in sixth place, Jay Eggett in seventh place, Derek Apache. He was running a Colts list for the ACDC. He went in eighth place. Don Huson with Death Guard. Oh my goodness, Death Guard making it into ninth place. And then finally, TJ Lanigan in 10th. These guys all did an amazing job. So what I want to do now is I want to take just a moment, and I'm going to talk about something that you guys can take away from the LVO. So if you didn't watch the streams, this is the biggest lesson I have to teach you. Everyone makes mistakes. When I was watching Jack Harpster play, the guy made crippling mistakes. Guess what? Everyone makes mistakes. Jack Harpster played amazing games as well. So I'm not talking junk. Don't say I'm spreading crap about him. Jack Harpster did an amazing job. But even though he's been known to win the LVO, guess what? He made mistakes in gameplay. When you look at Mark Hertel, he made mistakes in gameplay. He also at several times got bailed out by his dice. When you play at a tournament this big, there is luck that is going to always be involved. There were at least 2 games on stream where I watched Mark play where if he didn't make the 10-inch charge, he lost the game. But he did. So when you're looking at these top guys and you're thinking, oh, I could never compete with them, you can. Yes, they might be a little bit better. They might have more game experience. They might have more game knowledge. But you can compete with people because everyone is human and everyone makes mistakes. I'm not calling those two out particularly. Like literally everyone made crippling mistakes. And that's just the way it goes. So when you're playing 40k, when you're on the tabletop and you're afraid of your opponent, you think your opponent is so much better than you. Oh, there's no way you're going to be able to win. Wait for them to make that mistake and capitalize on it, because the best people in the world make lots of mistakes. I have never played a game where I played a perfect game and made 0 mistakes. I seriously doubt any of the guys on this list have ever played a perfect game either. It's just the nature of the beast. So let's talk about some of these actual lists. I'm just going to do the top three, and then I'm gonna finish off with so I'll finish off with Mark. So let's start with Jack's list. Um, Jack's list was a little bit of an interesting one to me. It was the Angelic Inheritor. So he was running the new Grotmus detachment for the Blood Angels. So he had a captain with a jump pack. He was taking hand flamer and relic weapons. Relic weapons are a bit of an interesting choice because since you're not playing Liberator Assault Group, you're definitely going to be at a lower strength, so he doesn't get the strength bonuses when you charge. He gets the strength bonuses for charging as a captain, so +1 strength, but you don't get the +2. So the relic weapon only goes up to strength 6 on the charge, and he has 6 attacks with it. So he took two of them, and he had hand flamers just to kind of help with maybe get a little lucky with some horde clearing. Then he had Dante. He had a librarian, which a lot of people found interesting. I'll explain how that works. Then he had a lieutenant with combi weapon with the ordained sacrifice. So when this guy dies, he just comes back to life. And I actually really like that combination because this guy's really annoying to deal with the reactive move, the stealth, and the 5-up Fiona Pain that he has. It's and the lone up, of course. So he's actually very, very challenging to deal with. Then we had the Sanguinor, and the Sanguinor actually gets significantly better in this detachment, even over Liberator Assault Group, because yes, you lose an attack, you lose 2 strength, but now that you're rerolling 1s to hit and wound with him, it's a very, very interesting thing that occurs that your Sanguinor just suddenly the 1s don't matter because he gets to reroll them. He gets more dev wounds, he gets more hits. It's actually very, very nice for him. Then he has 1 Intercessor squad. This was to sticky and do things. He had a Devastator squad. A lot of people found this very interesting. Well, it's 4 las cannons, and he's running it with the Librarian. So the squad has a 4-up invulnerable save, and now they're a character unit, so they're rerolling hit rolls and wound rolls of 1. And in Angelic Inheritors, you have a 1 CP stratagem for an 18-inch load op. So basically what Jack was able to do with this squad is he just put it anywhere, and they could shoot anyone, and they couldn't be shot back at. And if you ever did want to put something really close to shoot them, what does Jack care? It's a unit of Devastators. It's fine. That's really forcing you in a bad position. So it's basically just allows him to shoot 4 las cannons every single turn for free. And that's valuable. Then we had 2 Inceptor squads. One was a 6-man plasma, and one was a 3-man with assault bolters. 1 unit of infiltrators, and then 3 3-man sanguinary guard. Now this was a pretty big surprise to a lot of people, myself included. I think I understand why he did it, because he knew he doesn't have the punching power in Angelic Inheritors that he has in, say, Liberator Assault Group. So he actually put Dante in each of the captains with just 3-mans. This was a very, very fascinating choice. When he did that, it gave him a lot more points to spread out to get a lot more units on the table. So Jack wasn't going for death balls that could just murder people. Instead, he was pressuring on multiple flanks at once. And that's actually quite cool. And since each one was led by a character, they always got to reroll hit and wound rolls of 1. Then he rounded the list out with 2 Vindicators. Vindicators are just good. They're just useful. In this detachment, everything already has reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1, so he could pretty much always put Oath of Moment on the target the Vindicators are shooting, which is very, very valuable for him, or the Inceptors were shooting. At any point in time, if he needed to, he could spend 1 CP to turn, say, one of the Inceptors into a character squad, so that they could get reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1 if he needed to. Not that they need wound rolls because they already had Twin Link, but you get what I'm saying. So the way the list worked is he would just push up on multiple flanks. He would pick one of his jump pack units back into reserves when he needed to, and he would redeploy them. Many, many games, Dante didn't charge until rounds 4 or 5, which is something that I find true for all of my Blood Angels as well. I tend to just not dedicate Dante until it's the end of the game, because he's more of a threat, forcing your opponent to watch where they're moving than anything else. So Jack did a great freaking job. I like the list. If I were to play this list, I would probably look into dropping one of the captains who's leading the Sanguinary Guard, because since I can always spend a CP to put this Sanguinary Guard, make them a character unit so they can get the native reroll 1s to hit and wound. That would give me 85 points to free up just to do something else with. And I think that's the way I would go with it. And the reason for this is, especially since he was running the relic weapons on the captains, adding the captain to the Sanguinary Guard unit really does not change the units that Sanguinary Guard unit is going to go kill. Adding that captain doesn't mean you're going to go kill an Armiger or War Dog, for example. It's not going to happen. So you don't get to increase the threat of the units that you can go kill with that Sanguinary Guard unit. So that's how I would change this. Let's talk about the other 2 lists for our finalists. So we have Ben Neal, who took second LVO. Way to go, Ben Neal. Congratulations. So he was doing Vanguard Spearhead Ultramarines. He had a captain with jump pack with the Ghost Speed Cloak, which is going to give him a sweet, sweet loan up, which is just a fast loan up. There's nothing wrong with that. Shadow War veteran lieutenant with combi weapon. So he has a Vect Aura, very strong. I like it. So now he's got 2 loan up characters that could just go and mess things up. Marnie's Calgar, because Marnie's Calgar is amazing. And in Uriel Ventress. So he's got 2 different sources of Vect auras in this detachment, and that's very, very powerful. He has an Impulsor, 1 Centurion Devastator Squad. I think this is very everyone should be familiar with this at this point. Uriel Ventress gives them Deep Strike, so they can use the uppy downy strat from Vanguard. Company Heroes, which is always going to be attached to Marnie's Calgar. Another Company Heroes, which is always going to be attached to Uriel Ventress. An Eradicator Squad. A second Eradicator Squad. 1, 2, 3 Inceptor Squads. The 2 3-mans are with Plasma Exterminators. The 1 6-man is with Assault Bolters. And we have Infiltrator Squad and a Scout Squad. So really the only super, super punchy unit here is going to be that Centurion Devastator Squad. Marnie's providing some ability to punch up in melee. And then you do have the 6-man Inceptor Squad with the Assault Bolters. And don't forget that in this detachment, you can give them +1 AP. So if you land them, say, for Plunging Fire, they can go to AP2 with the Assault Bolters. And then you can give them +1 AP from a strat in Vanguard. Then you go up to AP3. So he actually has a lot of shenanigans in this detachment. And honestly, it played out really well for him. Well done, man. I think he did just a great freaking job. Let's talk about Mark's list. I'm very familiar with Mark's list. For those of you guys who don't know, Mark beat me by 1 point at the World Championship, so we had a great match. I really enjoyed him. And I also died laughing when he said a few things on stream, because he said the exact same things when we were playing, and that is 100% his personality, and I just love it. I freaking love it. So here's Mark Hertel. He went Deathwatch. This is actually a pretty similar Deathwatch list to what I'm running. I have a little bit of a change, but who knows? Maybe I'll start adopting his metrics after this one. So, Deathwatch, for those of you guys who don't know, once per game, you can give the entire army sustained hits, once per game, lethal hits, and once per game, precision on crit hits. So, LVO had a very specific ruling, which would allow those to apply to all Marine units, but the actual rules are it only applies to kill team units and units with the mission tactics keyword. So it does not apply to the rest of the Adeptus Astartes. Now, Mark, interestingly enough, did not take advantage of the weird LVO ruling that would have made the army even more powerful. He actually stuck to only using the units that could use the mission tactics, and honestly, it was enough for him. He did great with it. I'm going to talk about how he did it, because I watched every single one of his games. So, first off, he's got a Captain of Gravis Harbor. This guy has the enhancement, the Tome of Ectoclades, which once per game is going to be giving him a double oath target. So you get to choose 2 Oath of Moment targets. He's got a Judiciar with the Thief of Secrets enhancement. That's going to add +1 to the strength, AP, and damage of the Judiciar's weapon. Then, once the Judiciar kills a model, it goes to +2 strength, +2 AP, and +2 damage. Really making him a total powerhouse, and it stacks with his ability to precision out and get dev wounds on characters really, really well. 1 Lieutenant with Combi Weapon. This is something that we basically see in every single high-level Marines list, is that Lieutenant with Combi Weapon at this point. And then we have a Watchmaster. The Watchmaster is just a total legend, giving giving assault, and advance and charge, and fallback, shoot and charge. It's such a very, very flexible ability. The next thing that he has that was just really powerful is both the Watchmaster and the Captain have an ability to discount a stratagem by 1 CP, but they are different named abilities, even though they have the same effect. So he can use both of them in each battle round, meaning he has a ton of CP in this detachment, and that is very, very powerful. Then he goes 3 units of Deathwatch veterans, 2 5-mans, and 1 10-man. He's maxing out all the close comp, all the the Thunderhammers, Deathwatch Thunderhammers for that flat 3 with dev wounds, and he also got the Frag Cannon and the Infernus Bolters. One of these units, the 10-man, is going to be led by the Watchmaster, so that's going to give them the advance and charge, advance and shoot, and all that. And then another 5-man is going to be led by that Judiciar, so they're going to have a fights first, so they can heroic intervene, and they can just cause some shenanigans. Then we have 2 Rhinos, so 1 Rhino will start with the 10-man, 1 Rhino will start with the 2 5-mans. We have 2 squads of Deathwatch Terminators. These guys are just hella useful with 3 Cyclone missile launchers each. They get to reroll charges natively, and they actually cause battle shocks when they charge, so they are just better Terminators. And then we have a Indomitor kill team, which is my favorite personal kill team. This is going to be the heavy damage duty damage, whatever. This is the one that's doing a lot of the damage for him. So the Deathwatch heavy bolters with the flat damage 3 and a lethal and sustain built into it, combined with the Deathwatch normal bolters, which are or heavy normal bolters, which are AP2 damage 2. It just becomes very very powerful in this kill team. He's also going to always be leading this with the captain and ground armor, so they're going to have access to uppy downy whenever they want it. They're going to have access to armor contempt when they need it. They can heroic when they need it. This is just an overall great freaking unit, with especially when they get those +2 strength to shoot the target that's the closest to them. We have one Storm Speeder Thunderstrike. This unit, which I always struggle making room for in my list, just really made a big difference, because he would just give him the +1 to wound. So the unit that he needs to die, you get Oath, you get +1 to wound. That Indomitor kill team goes in and just crushes it. And then lastly, he has a Talon Strike team, which is very expensive at 290 points, but it is a bunch of AP4 Plasma Exterminators from the not Inceptors. He used this army to masterful ways. Basically what he would do is every single turn, every single game, is he would have those rhinos fairly safely deployed, more or less on the line, and he would just shoot them out, and then in turn 2, he would disembark with the 10-man squad. He would advance and charge, try to obliterate something. He would uppy downy with both the Talon Strike and the Indomitor, and he would go try to murk something in shooting and try to go for the charge. Honestly, the finesse wasn't really there, but with an army like this, you don't necessarily need finesse. Sometimes you could just bash your head against the wall, and the wall's going to break, and that is what Mark did. Now, I remember very specifically at one point in time during the match, he was playing against Nathaniel Borgia, who was running a brutal Vanguard Invader Tyranids army, and there was a 11-inch charge that if Mark didn't make, he was going to lose the game, and he goes, "Fuck it, we ball," and he threw the dice. He made it. He just cleaned up, killed a tyrant that he wasn't supposed to kill, and I just died laughing because he did the exact same thing to me when I played him at the World Championships of Warhammer. There was a terrible charge that there's no reason for him to even attempt, and he just said, "Yeah, fuck it, we ball," and he landed it. And it gave him the ability to make it to the last round, where he was able to draw a card that he needed to get max points on, and he ended up winning by 1 point. So it was just very funny to hear him repeat the mannerisms. And I had an absolute blast watching him, and it was just really cool to see the hyper aggression of a relatively squishy army, to be honest with you. Marines aren't exactly a tough army. So this was awesome. I had a blast watching him play. Guys, LVO was freaking sick. It really inspired me, and it made me really want to hammer down on making sure I try to make it for next year. So this was awesome. If you guys like these lists and you want more breakdowns and more ways that we might alter some of these things to suit different terrain layouts, different teams formats perhaps, make sure you hop in the members only Discord, where we're talking about this stuff every single freaking day. Until next time, happy cropping and have a lovely freaking day. Bye bye.